Welcome to another explainer right here on History Decoded. So, if you look at the bustling, modern megacity of Hyderabad today, well, it's pretty hard to miss the majestic silhouette of the Charminar, right? Built way back in 1591, it's an absolute world-renowned icon. But what if I told you the true genius of the structure isn't what rises 184 feet into the sky, but what lies buried deep beneath the soil? Okay, let's dive into this explainer and uncover a 430-year-old architectural secret hidden right beneath our feet.
There's this absolutely fascinating contrast going on. Above ground, we have the famous, visible skyline, those soaring minarets and delicate Islamic arches that Sultan Muhammad Quli Qutb Shah is so famous for. But below ground? That's where you find a completely invisible, highly engineered subterranean labyrinth. We are talking about massive central chambers plunging 30 to 40 feet deep into the earth, all fortified by solid masonry walls that are an astonishing 3 to 4 feet thick.
Which brings up a really great question. How exactly was this hidden labyrinth laid out? Because let me tell you, this wasn't just some basic basement. The spatial anatomy of this monument is practically mind-blowing. Each of the 4 colossal towers you see above ground actually contain staircases that connect directly down to a massive, perfectly symmetrical central subterranean hub. And from that core, passages branch out perfectly to the north, south, east, and west.
Now, to get this perfectly right, the layout relied heavily on a classical unit of measurement called the Mughal gaz. It's roughly equivalent to 2.5 feet. You see, Mughal architects were deeply obsessed with proportional mathematics, and this brilliantly illustrates how the Qutb Shahi builders perfectly scaled their underground geometric grid. Literally every single corridor, archway, and wall below was calculated to flawlessly mirror the sacred, symmetrical geometry of the towers up above.
But I want you to keep the sheer scale of this in mind for a second. 15,000. That is the massive downward pressure, in tons, exerted by the monument's 4 titanic towers, pressing straight down into the earth. I mean, supporting millions of pounds of stone overhead without the whole roof just collapsing in on itself. That is a monumental task.
And that brings us to what's known as the great engineering paradox of the Charminar. These underground chambers actually make the monument more stable, not less. Now, what's really interesting about this is you naturally think that digging a network of hollow cavities directly underneath a 15,000-ton foundation would be a total recipe for structural disaster. But in reality, it was a stroke of absolute genius.
So how exactly did they achieve that rock-solid stability? Well, first off, the barrel and cross vaults act like massive structural shock absorbers. They essentially distribute that 15,000-ton load over a much wider area. Also, keeping the spaces hollow actually reduced the overall mass, or the dead load, of the foundation itself. Add in the arched ceilings to create highly stable downward load paths and a central hub layout that perfectly equalized the weight, and you've got a system that completely prevented the monument from cracking as it settled into Hyderabad's really tricky mix of clay and rock soil. But wait, what about the wider central chambers, where the passages suddenly open up to widths of 8 to 12 feet? How did the builders prevent that crushing weight from just sagging those wide underground ceilings? Well, they used a remarkably clever architectural trick. As those wide passages approach the ends of the chambers, they abruptly narrow. This deliberate bottleneck concentrated the structural support precisely where the heavy load-bearing walls met the foundation. Now, structural integrity is one thing, but if you think about it, deep enclosed spaces also trap a ton of moisture and stale air. To solve this, the engineers created a brilliant passive ventilation system. Basically, cool air enters the hollow upper towers, gets pulled down through carved vertical shafts that act just like flues, and then circulates through the passages before venting back out. This natural chimney effect kept the deep passages entirely breathable and protected the historic stone from rotting. And speaking of rot, we've got to pivot from physics to chemistry for a second. How on earth do these passages remain totally dry after more than 400 years in a semi-arid, yet often intensely humid climate? The threat of constant groundwater seepage in Hyderabad is incredibly high. If the building materials down there rot away, while the entire 15,000-ton structure above is totally at risk. The secret lies in their advanced material recipe. They used a highly specialized lime mortar that blended limestone, sand, finely ground brick powder, and, most crucially, strategic layers of ash. So the crucial point here is that this wasn't just your standard mortar. The engineers deliberately sandwiched this dark ash layer right inside the masonry. And this ash layer served an absolutely incredible dual purpose.
Chemically speaking, the ash reacted with the lime mortar to create the ash barrier. This was a dense, hydrophobic waterproofing layer. It actively repelled water molecules, completely preventing moisture from ever infiltrating the masonry. And structurally, it acted as thermal insulation, meaning these underground chambers stayed refreshingly cool in the scorching Deccan summers and wonderfully warm in the winters. To make those vaults even stronger, the builders also embedded heavy wooden beams directly into the wet mortar during construction. These acted as ancient tensile reinforcements. Now, sure, the wood has long since decomposed over the centuries, which actually left behind these fascinating hollow cylindrical cavities that you can still spot down there today, but their early support was absolutely critical. It allowed the mortar to cure slowly and achieve a literal rock-hard consistency.
Okay, so we know how they built it, but what did the Sultan actually use this highly defended waterproof underground world for? Well, historical evidence points to 4 vital administrative and strategic roles. First up, it served as a royal treasury for hiding tax revenues and precious Golconda diamonds. Second, for military defense, allowing safe, completely hidden troop movement during sieges. Third, as an emergency escape network, and finally for hydrological routing and storage.
Let's look a bit closer at that last point, because it's a true hydrological marvel. Recent surveys have uncovered intricate lime motor-lined water channels running perfectly parallel to the main stone corridors. Muhammad Quli Qutb Shah's engineers essentially integrated complex water diversion directly into the foundations. This linked the Charminar to the city's broader water supply, expertly managing resources in a traditionally water-stressed environment.
All of this reveals a really profound truth about the Charminar. You see, it wasn't ever designed as just an isolated monument. It was the anchor of a fully integrated urban system. These subterranean passages extended way beyond the main towers, branching out deep beneath the bustling commercial district we know today as the historic Lod Bazaar. It seamlessly unified commerce, administration, and defense by allowing royal officials to operate right beneath the busy market stalls.
But since it's been hidden away in the dark for centuries, what physical evidence do we actually have of all this bustling underground activity today? Let's move ahead and see how this builds, especially looking at the incredible work done by the Archaeological Survey of India.
Between 2000 and 2005, ASI excavations brought some truly amazing findings to light. They found undisturbed sediment and pottery, which gave us definitive proof of extended human occupation over different historical periods. They documented those distinct wood beam impressions we discussed just a minute ago, but most intriguingly, they analyzed mineral deposits inside those water channels and found a definitive chemical match to the nearby Musi River. It is absolute proof that these tunnels were practically wired into the living geography of the city. Now, this subterranean network has lived an incredibly dramatic life. Built in 1591, it absolutely proved its military worth during the infamous Mughal siege of 1687, allowing for sudden, coordinated defensive movements. However, between 1857 and 1900, colonial paranoia kicked in. British administrators decided to just seal the whole network up. And it stayed that way until the ASI excavations in the early 2000s, which eventually led to today's non-invasive mapping efforts.
That colonial period caused what historians now call the British sealing crisis. Nervous about these unregulated underground networks, British administrators just bricked up almost all the entry points. They didn't even map the layout first. And worse, they used cheap 19th century concrete. Today, those modern materials are trapping moisture inside, causing biological growth, mold, and severe structural stress. And that's heavily compounded by the intense vibrations from modern traffic zooming around the monument today.
So how are modern conservators fighting this rapid deterioration? I mean, they can't exactly take a sledgehammer to priceless historic stone, right? Instead, they're unlocking the depths safely. They're using cutting-edge, non-invasive technology, like high-resolution ground-penetrating radar and 3D wireframe laser scanning. This tech allows engineers to map every single hidden corridor and chamber digitally, preserving the structural integrity above while safely investigating the secrets down below.
Beyond just the sheer engineering and military tactics, this whole design holds a really profound philosophical resonance. In Islamic architectural symbolism, this represents the concealment of power. It's a gorgeous metaphor, the idea of an authority that is completely hidden, silent, and ever-present, serving as the absolute, unshakable foundation for the visible, infinite world reaching into the sky above.
And you know what? This specific Hyderabadi engineering genius didn't stay a local secret for long. The Charminar essentially served as a master blueprint that inspired monuments all across the subcontinent. From the hidden administrative levels of the Jaipur City Palace to the highly defensive corridors in Delhi's Red Fort, and even the breathtaking vault systems of Lucknow's Bara-e-Mambara, architects all across India copied the engineering principles pioneered right here under the Deccan soil.
Yet, even with all we know, so much remains shrouded in mystery. What other unmapped underground secrets still lie quietly beneath the Deccan clay? For centuries, local rumors have persisted of a massive escape tunnel linking directly to the Mecca Masjid complex just 200 meters away, or even unconfirmed subterranean sunken gardens designed purely for royal relaxation. The full extent of this labyrinth? It's still waiting to be discovered.
The Charminar really proves that true architectural mastery lies in the perfect balance of visible splendor and hidden complexity. I really hope this explainer gave you a whole new perspective on this 430-year-old masterpiece. Now it's your turn. Subscribe and let us know in the comments below what Hyderabadi mystery we should investigate next on our next explainer, right here on History Decoded.